That's not good. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue building our small frame that we have here. I'm going to start by putting on the center stand. Finally came in from Scooter Mercado. I actually had another one, but I didn't realize it was bent, so I had to order a different one. So I got all the hardware, all the parts. I'll show you guys how to throw that on real quick. After that, we're going to be installing the cables and the wiring. Okay, the headset I have temporarily put on the bike. This is how it looks. And then after that, unfortunately, I think we might have a little issue with this this motor. So I'll show you when we get to that point. But yeah, guys, we still have a lot of work, so let's get to it. Alright, so that's pretty much how the center stand needs to be installed. These little brackets here, there's two of them. They go a certain way. So one for the left, one for the right. You want the longer side of the bracket facing forward, because that's where the center stand goes to stop when it's fully extended. You have a spring here, and then you have this little clip back here that you got to get as well, and it slides into the frame right there on that slot. So yeah, if you've never installed a center stand before, that's how it works. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is adjust the steering wheel a little bit. It's supposed to turn without any resistance. Right now I'm feeling a lot of resistance, so something's not right. So I need to pull the headset off, which is pretty easy because I don't have it bolted down, and adjust that nut right there until it's loose enough where there's no resistance when I turn. That's how you want it to be, really loose like that, but with this top nut also installed. So I loosen it up a little bit. Try to tighten the top nut again and see what happens. Yeah, that's good. Just like that. Make sure you move the fork around, make sure there's no play, and there isn't, and no resistance when you turn. That's how it should be set up. Okay, so now it's the pain in the ass part, which is running cables and wiring in a small frame. Once again, I'll be using my really long zip tie to run them. So I'm going to run this down, this two channels here, one here, one here. I'm going to run the clutch gear cables down this channel. I'm just pushing this guy down there. Small frame is like a little bridge part that goes down underneath, so you can't really get your hand down there, but that's why you should use this. And then of course I haven't installed the rear brake cable yet, so you can reach down there and move this zip tie around and get it underneath the bridge part that's in the back there. Just like that. The zip tie ran. I'm going to connect 3 cables to this guy, pull it down this channel, and then it's only going to be the throttle cable on the right side, right slot. So let me grab my pack of cables and we'll get it all sorted out. Alright guys, so I have my pack of BGM cables. It's actually really nice cables. I'm assuming these 2 black ones are going to be the gear cables. This is what I need So the 2 gear cables going down the left channel around the steering column. And then I need the clutch cable, which is, I think, this one right here. Actually, that might be the yeah, that's clutch cable. This guy right here. Clutch cable, and then you have a throttle cable going around the right slot. So, and then you have the front brake cable, which is this guy right here. So, yep, these 2 guys. Front brake cable shorter than the clutch, so we can see that, but yep. So I got my clutch cable here, my 2 gear cables. Attach the ends to my zip tie that I ran, and I'll simply pull it down through the frame into the back under the seat. Alright, I have my cables attached to my zip tie. So the way you want to position these guys is the 2 gear cables in front of the clutch cable. Alright, so wiggle them around until it fits down the channel here. Simply pull the zip tie back. See how the frame all covered up in microfibers for obvious reasons. You don't scratch the frame while you're running cables. So that's how it is right there, just like that. And these cables where they're supposed to go. Next one I'm going to be doing is the throttle cable, which is this slot right here. Alright, so that's pretty much all your cables ran. Next thing we need to do is run the electrical cables, but before I do that, I'm going to run the front brake and also the speedometer cable. Here's the front brake cable, the one that's left that has the little cable stop on it. So the way I do this is I run the inner through the tube, through the fork in the front, and then I'll run the outer once I see the inner up here, and then I pull the inner back out and then put it back the right way. So hopefully that makes sense. You see I ran the inner up through the fork tube. Now I'll run the outer down it and use the inner as a guide. Raise the lift a little bit and try to show you what I'm doing. Alright, hopefully you can see the 2 holes in the fork. The bottom one's for the brake cable, the top one's for the speedo cable. Alright, so I'm trying to get the inner out of the bottom hole right now without chafing it too much. Well, that didn't work, doing my inner as a guide, so I took the outer out and I'm pushing it up the fork tube until it gets to the top. Like that. Alright, so I have a speedo cable here. When you order the cable kit, it does not come with a speedo cable, so make sure you order that. So for the speedo cable, what I try to do with the brake cable is what I usually do with the speedo cable. Just pull the inner out, run that up the fork tube, and then run the outer back down using the inner as a guide. Alright, because this guy you can't just push through because it has this little nut on the end there. So I'll pull the inner out. Send it up the fork tube on that other hole. I'll run this guy back down the fork using the inner as a guide. It's a little tricky. It's a really gnarly bend at the end here, so you gotta work it through if you can. If not, you gotta pull the inner out, and you gotta have to stick something in there to try to catch the cable and get it through the hole, which I think is what I'm gonna have to do here. So unfortunately, I don't think I can show you guys on camera, but I'm sure you get the idea of it. All right, I got the speedo cable through. I actually had the outer ran through the hole first, and then when I tried to install the inner, it would not go through the bend up here. So I had to pull the outer back out, run the inner through it, and then fish both together through that little hole. A little bit of a pain in the butt, but I got it. The next thing we're going to do is build a harness for this bike. I don't usually buy harnesses because, as I mentioned in previous videos, I am a wiring guy, which is why I have all those nice wires on the rack over there. So I'm going to follow this diagram for the Primavera 125, and it's pretty simple. It's maybe 5 wires going from the front to the back, and then you have some wires going from the switch to the headlight, and then of course some wires going to the horn. I mean, this is pretty much as basic as it gets as far as wiring diagrams. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and build a harness real quick. I'm not gonna show you guys on camera because that's a whole video on its own. So yeah, let me get that built real quick, and then I'll show you how to run it. You see, I just built a wiring harness for this bike. I literally followed this diagram right here. Okay, if you guys ever pay attention to these wiring diagrams, they're really not that difficult. All right, you got your main one here that goes to the switch on the right side, and then you have the headlight wires from the switch, and then they go down, they come back up to the headlight, and then you have the switch to the horn, and then of course the switch to the back for the kill switch and power and all that good stuff. Okay, so the way I run wires is very simple. I run 2 zip ties. All right, this big one here is already ran through the frame to the back here. This little one here is running from here to the horn through the horn hole right here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is tape the end of this big harness to the big zip tie, tape the end of the little harness to the little zip tie. I'm gonna pull the big one first, and then when all the slack is taken out, I'll pull both at the same time, and then these should end up exactly where the zip ties were. All right, nice and easy. I do this for large frame and small frame, okay? All right, so as you can see, my 2 harnesses are taped to the zip ties. I'm gonna start with this big one first, and I'll just simply pull the other end through the frame. That's through the frame, and now I have this little one. Flip this guy around a little bit. There you go. The little one I'm going to again pull through the front, through the horn hole. So you get this little bundle where the turn is from the switch to the headlight wiring through this tiny hole here, and then I'm pretty much done. So that literally took me, what, 2-3 minutes? So I just got that bundle through, and the wires are going exactly where they're supposed to go. And next thing I need to worry about is the wiring for the SIP gauge. So let me show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so we're going to be installing this nice SIP carbon fiber phase gauge. So inside there's a couple of harnesses that get to run through the frame. So in the box there's 3 harnesses that you should run. All right, one is for your fuel sender. If you did have a fuel tap with the fuel sender built in, this is the harness that plugs into that. Okay, this bike is actually getting a long range tank, which I don't believe it has an electronic fuel sender available, at least not yet. So, well, I'm going to run the wire, but I'm going to leave it under the seat because it's probably not going to get used for now. So the other one is, of course, your EGT, not EGT, but cylinder head temperature, CHT, and then, of course, your power. So these harnesses you got to make sure are going the right way, because if you run them the wrong way, you're going to have to redo the whole thing. So this is how they plug in. I'm going to be running these two together on the right side of the frame. And I'm going to run this one on the left side of the frame by itself, because this one needs to go from the back to the front, because on the other end there's a big fat plug that will not go through the neck. Okay, so leave that off for now. Again, using my zip tie method, I'm going to run these two guys down first on the right side, and then we'll work on the left side. All right, I got my harnesses taped to the zip tie again. I'm going to try to get these through. I just remember this being a pain in the butt because these plugs are a little too big, and the slot here on the frame is too small. So you really have to work it through. The other way is to de-pin these things, but you're going to have to be really careful if you do that. So, let me see here. Yeah, so the only obstacle I have right now is this plug here is bigger than this slot here. So I need to move these harnesses out of the way and hopefully get it a little forward and get it down that tiny slot. Use my little plastic tool to push it down the slot. I know they're tight, they do fit, but you know, it's just taking a little bit of work. So I have my zip tie again, ran already to the back already. It's pretty simple, especially with the brake lever out. There's an opening on the bottom of the frame. We can reach in there and grab the zip tie. You got to run it through the frame first. All right, so I'll leave this much wiring for the gauge on this side. The other end, I'm going to run the fuel sending unit wiring. Okay, so I went ahead and ran the fuel sender wiring through the left side slot here, and the other end is already in the back here. It's down there somewhere, but so yeah, all the wiring on the cables are ran for this bike. Next thing we can do is put the headset on. All right, so here I have the headset. So the wires already ran through the frame where they're supposed to kind of go. So on the bottom of the headset, you see the slot here and a slot here. Okay, so you got your clutch cable and your gear cables and the fuel sending wire going through this slot here, and then on this side you have your throttle and the wiring for the headlight and the wiring for the switch that goes there. Okay, so pretty much just run all these cables through the headset to where they're supposed to kind of go. This part may be a little tricky, so I'll go ahead and do this real quick and show you what it should look like when you're done. All right, it took me a couple minutes, but I got all the wiring where they need to go. This is your SIP gauge wiring, how your cables are all positioned in the right spots in there, I think. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's really tight in there because I have the SIP gauge wiring, but take your time, organize the wiring so they're not getting pinched by anything, and you shouldn't have any problems. So next thing I'm gonna do is bolt the headset to the fork, and then I can start working on everything else. All right, so I have the headset bolted down temporarily. You may have to adjust it later on, so don't tighten it too much. So next thing we're going to do is install the gear tube and the throttle tube. All right, so let me show you on the bench exactly how they would go. Okay, so I have the two tubes here and all the parts. You know, I decided to go with these nice SIP grips. These are pretty simple to install. Just slip it over the tube, and then this little guy here goes on the end. Tighten that center Allen bolt, and it'll expand the rubber here, and it'll hold it in place, so nice and easy. So the way these tubes go into the headset, it's gonna go in like this. The headset's here, it's gonna go in like this. Okay, it's gonna be like that because the front brake cable actually goes through this opening here and out this opening here to the actual lever. Okay, and then from here you have this little cable guide on the end that will go somewhat like this, like that. Okay, but before you install that, you have to put this little spring washer in that actually keeps the tension on the tube, keeps it from going back and forth like this. So I'm going to put some grease on this guy here before I install it. And there's also a little tension clip right here, and they are usually broken, and I don't have another one. So I'm going to install it anyway because there is a space for that thing. So if you install without that, it'll, you know, wobble around a little bit. But I'm going to order a new one and install that later on, just so it's done correctly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and install this guy and show you what it looks like when it's all done. Okay, so that's how it should look. I do have the cable running through the tube, entering here, exiting here, and then it's on, it's in that little cavity for the lever. But like I said, this spring clip is broken, so I'm not gonna put the lever on and all that and have to take everything back off again. So I'll wait till that comes in, then I'll replace it, and then I'll finish putting on the lever. But on the other side, it's pretty much the same thing, okay? I did not show you guys how these guys mount. So it goes somewhat like this. This goes on the end here. The holes are supposed to line up there, okay? And then when it's actually all installed, you have to stick this little clip through the holes. Hope you can see what I'm talking about here. See through the bottom hole and then through the top hole like that. You spin this clip and it locks it in place. Okay, these are aftermarket, they're not that great. I had to bend a little bit on the other one to make it work, but this is how it should look actually installed into the bike. Also on this side, there's a big thrust washer that goes right here. So this mates up between the headset and the tube itself. Okay, I put some lube there just so it gives a little bit of a lubrication, because this is always moving when you're shipping the gears. So I'll go ahead and do that. Place it in there, install it, and show you what it looks like. Alright guys, I have the headset all situated. All the cables and wiring going where they need to go. Okay, the gear cables are hooked up. And I have the little guide installed into the headset, secured by these M5 screws here. So you can see the cables go into these little openings here on the guide. You got to get all those cables into the little guides, get all the cables tight, and then you should be good to go. So this is how it's supposed to look. So don't just jam everything in there, because things won't work right. All right, this is exactly how it's supposed to be from the factory, and that way nothing gets pinched or anything like that when you're actually riding the bike. So for this gear tube, I had to place some washers between this little cable guide and the actual tube itself to take up the slack, because before, without those washers in there, this was loose enough for that thrust washer to fall out of it. So they sell those washers. Make sure you pick some up if you decide to do this. So yeah, everything looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and install the gear lever on this side. I'm not gonna do it on this side yet, because like I said, I'm waiting for that little tension spring to come in. So yeah, let me do that, and then this part will be pretty much done. All right, so the owners decided to go with these nice anodized SIP levers, nice and solid milled aluminum pieces. So as far as installing the lever, you hook the cable up to it, push the lever in there. These screws here, they come as a set. So it's a big washer on the top, little washer on the bottom, in between the headset itself, I'm sorry, the shifter tube itself and the lever, and then it's a lock washer and a lock nut on the bottom. So tighten it to where it can move around freely like this, but not have any play up and down. All right, so this thing is good to go. Okay guys, so we're on the back of the bike now, and I have the rear jacked up, and I noticed this the other day. I don't know if you can hear that. It's a little clicking noise when I'm spinning the wheel, okay? And I believe it's because the cruciform itself is touching first gear. Okay, I don't have it shimmed correctly. In the other small frame build video I did, you saw that I actually grinded down the cruciform a little bit, and I don't think that's the correct way to fix the problem. I have a theory that I'm going to need to use a smaller shim on one side of the gear stack and a thicker shim on the other side to keep the tolerances within spec, and also keep the cruciform from touching first gear while it's in neutral. Okay, because this noise here is what I heard in Orangina when I first put it together. I didn't think too much of it, and I had it all built up. and I started it up for the first time. I'm sitting there revving it for a little bit, and it jumped into gear on its own, almost fell over. So I have flashbacks about that, and I'd rather the owner of this bike not have to worry about something like that, especially on a brand new, freshly painted build. So unfortunately, guys, I think I'm gonna have to pull this motor out, get it apart, reshim the gear stack, and put it back together. Okay. It's really no surprise as far as small frames. I think every single small frame I've done, I've had to take the motor apart at least once or twice to get it right. But once you get it right, they're great. It's just that, you know, when you do a 3-speed to 4-speed conversion, which is still kind of new to me, you have to experiment a little bit like I'm doing right now. So, like I said, I'm gonna have to pull this thing off the frame, pull the motor out, take it apart, reshim the gear stack. Sucks, but it is what it is. But I am at a stopping point right now. I know I said I was supposed to be in the UK. That trip actually got postponed. So I wanted to get this thing as done as possible because the raffle bike is over there. And we need to start on that because there is only 30 days until our rally. So the crew and I are going to be taking this thing apart, over the weekend, and we're gonna assess what it needs, what it doesn't need, and then we're gonna get some parts ordered and hopefully get it all back together by the time our rally is. So yeah, it sucks, but yeah, I gotta put this on the back burner a little bit. I'll get back to it soon enough. It's not much left. It's like I said, it's just taking the motor out, checking that stuff, and then just tightening up everything else, putting in the little trim parts on, covers and the lights and all that. So like I said, there's not too much more left to do. All right, guys, yeah, guys, I'm going to be busy. So, that's going to be it for this video. Guys, if you've enjoyed these videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch y'all next time.